wonderful childhood.
What do you mean?
I was loved. It was so a happy time.
What's the earliest Christmas you remember?
I can't give you an age. I remember getting a big doll and a carriage. I remember getting a rocking chair.
Did you have a Christmas tree?
All the time. In that porch. You know the porch in 91st Street?
Yeah.
Porch. Big tree.
Did they do stockings?
Well, that was the only one, yeah. And not only that, I'm upstairs and then I'm downstairs. I had the best of both worlds. I had a grandmother and 2 aunts and a grandfather who...
Who was the other aunt?
Josie. She got married from that house. So
when you were growing up, Bessie
and Josie were the 2 girls downstairs. Josie didn't get married until 1932. So I would go down and I'd go through their powder and their high heels.
Did they share a bedroom?
Shared a small bed.
Okay.
It wasn't twin size. They used to call them 3/4 size.
Right.
But it was Bessie and Josie. And Josie had terrible acne.
Oh.
Worried Grandma.
And what did Grandma make for Christmas Eve? You changed your ringtone? You're so hip.
Letting you know I'm here, safe, and on my way to court. I'll let you know when the deed is done.
That's good.
What did you just say?
What did Grandma make for Christmas Eve?
Well, in those days, the Catholic Church said you couldn't eat meat until Christmas Day. So we had
Wait.
Christmas Eve.
How long could you not eat meat? Like all of Advent, or?
No, I'm talking about Christmas now. I'm not talking about it. Yeah, that's Advent. No, Fridays you didn't eat meat.
Oh, right, okay.
But whether it was Friday or Thursday or Monday, Christmas Eve,
you did not eat meat.
You did not eat meat.
And that was the Catholic Church, or that was Italian?
Well, it's Italian in the sense Italians didn't go to church, but they followed the church.
Okay.
And so she made all kinds of fish.
What kinds of fish?
Well,
right.
And then there was something my grandfather liked that was kind of vinegary, and she made that. And then at midnight, sausage.
Were you awake for the sausage?
I don't remember. I don't think. How could I be there? Must have wanted to get me to the hell to bed. I don't know.
And did they make? I always think everything has to have pizza dough. Did they make any kind of thing with dough?
What do you call those? Zeppelin.
So for Christmas Eve, Grandma made zeppela? Could you make zeppela tomorrow?
I don't know how. I did it once and they came out terrible.
That would be good.
But to come out terrible? No. I don't have that. I'm going to make artichokes.
All right.
Which you won't eat.
What are you talking about? I eat artichokes. When did artichokes come in? Did Grandma make artichokes?
I have no idea.
80 years ago she was making artichokes? Or did that come later?
You said 80 years?
Yeah, like you're a little girl and it's Christmas Eve.
80 years? We didn't necessarily have that for Christmas, but I remember sitting at a big dining room table on a Sunday, and there would be artichokes, and the men
would fight for the heart.
For the heart.
Right.
So I don't know. That wasn't necessarily Christmas.
All right.
And spaghetti. They made spaghetti. Spaghetti with fish.
Did Grandma make her own spaghetti? Did she have a spaghetti machine?
No.
How do you make spaghetti without a machine?
And then she would pick it up. She'd have a big sheet on her bed, and she'd lay it out on her bed. And if you talk to enough Italian people, they will tell you, my grandmother or my mother had a big sheet on the bed and put the spaghetti on the bed.
But if you chop up the dough, doesn't that make it like linguine? Or do you roll it?
No.
How do you make, it's not necessarily round spaghetti. So like Allison and Samantha, one had to have flat, one had to have...
They would have to go someplace else. No, it wasn't, it was like a linguine. It was different kind of pasta.
Right.
Also, she made, we used to, in Italian, cavata colugna, making it with your thumb.
Cavata cavuglia.
Cavata colugna, making it with your thumb. And she'd make that kind of thing. Not necessarily for Christmas. This was a Sunday morning. And you'd come down on a Sunday morning. Upstairs they'd be eating snotty eggs.
Right.
Lumpy oatmeal, whole wheat bread.
Whose idea was it to eat healthy with your...
my mother and father.
No, but like, was it your mother's idea and your father went along, or your father's idea?
I know.
I don't know. I remember who ate healthy when I was a child. That it was Dad and not you. But they both ate healthy. And then your father died and your mother died young. So there you go.
And Grandma's eating all the fat off the roast pork and goes to 102.
Yeah.
No, but there was certain pasta. I think it was the cavata colugna. There was one of the. I think it looked like a gnocchi, but it was different. But it was that size, and it was substantial. And my mother swore that made her sick. She was difficult, Dan. She was a wonderful woman, but she was so difficult. But my grandmother knew how to
manage her.
Anything that I know that's smart, it's my mother. She took me to see the obelisk at the Museum of Natural History.
The what?
The obelisk.
What the hell is that? How smart I am.
It's an Egyptian thing.
Oh, okay.
And it has not the handwriting,
Yeah, the hieroglyphics.
Thank you, hieroglyphics. She took me to see the churches, the synagogues. She always took me. See, this doesn't happen anymore. But for Christmas, all this week, she would have dragged me into the city to see the window of Lord and Taylor and Arnold Constable. It was
Arnold Constable? That was a store?
It was a store that you figured they're never going to go out of business. Altman's, Macy's, all those windows.
Right.
She took me to see them.
Now, what about your first Christmas with Dad? Do you remember that? You were in Jackson Heights.
I didn't have kids at that point.
That's right.
I must have been pregnant, though.
Yeah. Because you were married in February, and Paul was born the following March, so it's Christmas and you're pregnant.
I don't know if I put up a tree. I have no idea. I have no memory of that. I have a memory of Christmases after that. He was, as you well know, you don't do any of this nonsense until Christmas Eve.
Oh my God, I know that. What was it like when Paul was born? Do you remember your water breaking?
I remember that whole thing.
Where were
you? I was
you?
awake in the hospital. My water didn't break at home. I was scheduled to go in on a certain day to be induced.
Just because that's what they did?
Well, he lived the doctor lives way the hell out on the island. So I guess for him, it was easy to say, we'll deliver you. Your due date is here, but if you don't come, that Saturday you'll come in, or that Monday you'll come in.
And you specifically didn't want him born on St. Patrick's Day? Or?
I didn't care.
No, but I remember you making comments that you were glad he wasn't, because then you would have had to name him Patrick.
If I said I would have had to, somebody would have suggested. But the thing is, I had made this arrangement with your father before we got married.
That you wanted to name your son Paul.
My first son would be Paul.
Okay.
And of course, big shot Frank Rochford said yes, because he had a brother, Paul.
So that worked out.
I mean, I often wonder if I said Salvatore because that was my father.
Yeah. But do you remember being in labor with Paul?
Yeah.
Did it hurt?
Yeah. But they give you
Twilight stuff?
Yeah, I mean, you're awake and you know that you have it. And
were you screaming like they see on TV?
No. I remember asking your father, because he was in that room with me while I was in labor. And he says, no, he says, but you could tell you were in pain.
Did Dad look worried? Or do you remember how Dad looked? Did he have to have a mask on?
No, he had to have a mask on when the baby was born, because in March everybody was getting colds and stuff.
Right.
But no, he wasn't worried. I think the worst part for him probably was he was in the room with labor. He was in that room until they said take it to the delivery room.
Oh, so he didn't see Paul come out?
No. He saw Paul's head beginning to come out. I remember him telling his brother Paul and Angela, oh, when I saw that little head, and Angela, Angie,
right.
She had babies like.
Yeah.
And I don't think she ever thought it was a miracle.
And when Paul was born, did they put him right on your chest like they do now?
No.
Or someone cuts the cord, they take him away, clean him up, and bring him back like that?
I saw him, and I held him, but it was not like it is the way they do it now. I saw him. The big thing that I remember I'm now down in my room on the bed. And the baby's in the thing next to me. And your father comes in, and he says, thank you. I don't think he has ever said thank you prior to that. Thank you.
That's nice.
Yeah. So, I always say they were not bad, hard times with Dad, but he was...
No, I know.
He was a good man.
And then how long...
I managed.
How long did they keep you in the hospital?
Well, 5 days they're going to ship you home. But on that 5th day, there was a snowstorm. So I stayed an extra day.
You weren't anxious to go home?
I was in my bottom hurt. I was taking sitz baths in the hospital.
Okay.
And I didn't know how the hell I was going to take sitz baths at home.
And do you remember the first night that you had Paul at home? Like, did you and Dad stare at him all night?
We had the crib like this by the bed, me here and him there. If the baby we got up. If the baby didn't he was dead. You got that? In other words, there was no answer.
So
we
how long did it take? How long did it take?
A couple of nights with no sleep. Or else, I don't remember which night. That getting up thing. He says, I'll do it tonight. Okay. Where were the shirts? Where were the diapers? Where was the cream?
And where were the bottles? Were they in the refrigerator? You didn't breastfeed at all.
Nobody did. Isn't that funny?
But now, do you remember your breasts leaking and being gigantic? Didn't you have to do something to relieve? What did women do back then?
I don't know. Whatever they gave me, they had to do something because that also hurt. But your bottom hurt, and you have no idea. You thought if anybody comes near me again, I'll kill them.
Right. where were the bottles? In the refrigerator, or did you make them? Like, how did they come? Like, the way the milkman delivered the milk, how did you get formula back then?
You bought formula
Was it in a powder, or was it?
Was it powder or something like that? I don't remember whether we used. I don't think we used canned milk. No, well, you made the thing. Because you stupid first-time parents. You sterilized those bottles like they could have gone right to heaven. Oh, you have no idea. And then after they're sterilized and you get the milk, and then you put them in the refrigerator. And then when they come out of the refrigerator, you don't want to give the baby cold milk.
So you have to heat it up on the stove, like in a boiling water thing. When did Paul start sleeping through the night?
I gave him that calendar. I don't know. It was on that calendar. Do you have your baby calendar?
Yeah.
It will say.
But do you remember him being like a good sleeper, bad sleeper?
He wasn't like Luke.
Well, yeah.
None of them were. Either that or else I must have been, I don't know, paralyzed in the head. I just remember, you have to realize, I come home with you and I've got Tommy in diapers.
Right.
I think he was still on a bottle.
Tommy. Of course, he was only 14 months old.
Walking, which you did not do.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, this is the end of entry number 1 of Grandma Remembering.